This city concept breaks architecture? By Danny Lee. Dude, this is about the line city that's being built over in Saudi Arabia, I believe. Let's find out a little bit more about it. Yes, indeed.
So over the past couple of weeks, some of you have directed me to this very strange project. It's a city that's 170 kilometers long, 500 meters tall, and it's basically a line cutting straight across a desert with a facade made of mirrors.
I just want to say straight out the gate, this is stupid. This is stupid. I want to go there. It's dumb, but I want to go. Like, it's dumb, like the pyramids are dumb. The Eiffel Tower is dumb. The Leaning Tower of Pisa is dumb. It's all dumb. Why is it dumb? Build a house. Build a normal build. Leaning Tower of Pisa, knock it over. Put something there that is useful. But I still went to Pisa. And the tower is actually kind of all right. I went there and there were 500 people all around it just doing this. What? Higher? Okay. Is this good? This? Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Am I doing it? Am I holding it? Yeah? Yeah? Okay, take the picture. Like... it's dumb, but I want to go to here.
And you can travel from one end to the other end in just 20 minutes. It's got an ultra super high speed public transit, which eliminates the need for cars and prioritizes walking. At first I thought it was a metaverse project, but it is a real project. The initial estimates for this project was $500 billion. And now they're estimating at $1 trillion.
Yep.
And it's expected to house 9 million residents. There's been...
I think that, we'll see if my opinion on this changes. I'm really interested as to whether my opinion on this by the end of this video will change. I personally think that something like this, from a human perspective, is really dangerous. I think that something like this promotes isolationism, and that if this entire thing is not completely open and doesn't have clear divisions between here's where the people that can afford a better place go, here's where the poorer people go, here's where all the Muslims go, all the Christians go, all the Jewish people go, I feel like something like this is only going to promote more, like, you know how in America or in London or whatever, you'll go somewhere and this place belongs to this gang and this bit belongs to this gang and you separate it all up. I feel like this would be the ultimate version of that, because you're taking 9 million people, you're squishing them together and then spreading them out over a massive distance. There's absolutely no way. No, I don't believe in humanity enough for this to go well. I think it would end up with so many different sections of people only hanging out with that section. Kind of like, have you ever seen Snowpiercer? It's like you've got the people in the front of the train, then you've got the people in middle class, the people in last class, then you've got the tailies, the disgusting tailies with their gross, disgusting hands, the freeloaders, and then you've got the high people all the way up here looking down on everyone. How does it not end up like that? And then surely the people with more money will live at the top, and the people with no money will live on the bottom. And who do you think is going to be the cleaners? Who's going to go out and clean and do all the repainting and maintenance? All the people on the bottom. How does this not go badly, you know?
Been a lot of marketing around this, so let's...
This more than anything else seems like a billionaire plot to keep the poor people nearby, to keep the rich people's place looking good and clean. That's what this seems like to me. Am I reading into this too much? See if my opinion changes by the end.
There's been a lot of marketing around this, so let's unpack this project a little bit from the design and urban planning point of view.
Okay. I'm in it.
So a little bit of context. NEOM is a part of the Saudi government's bigger initiative to diversify the economy away from oil. And as a part of their plan, they're investing heavily into infrastructure projects, as well as education, tourism, research, anti-aging technology, and there's a really big focus on future industries like renewable power. And the Saudi Arabian government set up an entire zone for the NEOM developments in an area called Tabuk. There's areas that's already finished construction, including a seaside resort, a massive development for the royal family, and an airport directly connecting to Riyadh, which
So basically, they're trying to build loads and loads. They're trying to make their own tourist locations. You build the line. Everyone wants to go see the line. You build, you got the inner city of Dubai. Dubai is in Saudi Arabia, right? I'm not mixing up my geography. And then you want to go and see Dubai. So they're trying to build, like, you want to go see the Eiffel Tower, the Leaning Tower of Pisa, what's the statue lady in America called? Whatever the tower lady with the fire is called. You want to go see her, Statue of Liberty. You want to go see her, and they're trying to make locations like that. That's what I'm hearing right now. It would make a fantastic setting for a post-apocalyptic video game. Would love to see it all destroyed and overgrown. Dude, Spec Ops: The Line. If you've not played that before, I haven't played it all the way through. I've heard it's incredible, and I didn't get so far in that I had the incredible experience, but that was like in a sandstorm like Dubai. You should check that out. Oh,
which is the capital of Saudi Arabia.
Wait, what's the capital?
Which is the capital, and an airport directly connecting to Riyadh, which is the capital of Saudi Arabia.
I thought the capital of Saudi Arabia was Dubai.
The line is probably the most public and heavily marketed part of this NEOM developments. The graphics to date have been really beautiful and really compelling. According to Mohammed bin Salman, this concept has a bunch of advantages that's going to make this the city of the future. By the way, it's going to have zero carbon emissions and it's going to run on clean, renewable energy. The city is going to be structured on 3 different levels. At ground level, you're going to have your pedestrian zone. There's going to be no roads and no cars, and there's going to be tons of parks and trees to encourage walking. The second level functions as a service level with shops and other commercial spaces. And on the third level, you got your goods and transportation with this ultra high-speed transit system. This connects the different city modules so that all of your activities can be done by public transport or by walking. And all of your daily needs can be met pretty much within a 5-minute walking distance.
But see, the 5-minute walking distance, this makes me again think about, this is going to promote people segregating to their own little groups. I go to this shop, the reason I'll go into town right now, or I'll drive the opposite way of town, is whether or not I want to go to Tesco or Asda, right? If all the supermarkets were the same, I would just go to whatever's closest. If my corner shop was a Tesco, and there were no other different shops around, I would just go there. It also means that whatever businesses are brought in, surely will have to be heavily regulated. Will they? How would capitalism work in a city that is built to promote everything that you need within 5 minutes? Either there'd have to be so many of the same thing that you have a Tesco, let's say Tesco for example, every 5 minutes. Because if you don't, and you have a Tesco here, and then 10 minutes away is the Asda, and 15 minutes away is the Morrisons, and 20 minutes away is the M&S. What if you live 5 minutes away from the M&S? M&S charges far more than Tesco does. So are you just going to have to be able to afford the supermarket that you live closest to? See, these are questions that need answering.
This whole idea is built on the premise that most big cities are born out of the Industrial Revolution, and they were built for machines and cars and industry rather than for people. The line would save humanity from this commuting nightmare. But is a rigid line really going to meet people's needs?
No.
And is this really the most conducive shape for a city?
No.
There's just a lot of questions that come up when I look at this. The first one was the design's impact on the natural habitat. I mean, if the focus really is on green technology and it's designed for sustainability, why does it literally cut through the surroundings? You know, it looks like it's forcing its way into this irregular terrain, and it doesn't even take advantage of the coast, which to me seems like the most natural thing to do. I studied fragmented landscapes and wildlife corridors in architecture school when I was doing my project in the Korean demilitarized zone, and there's thousands of instances throughout the world where natural habitats have been fragmented from roads or buildings. It stops animal migration, it kills off weaker animal species, it limits genetic diversity, it creates inbreeding, which creates genetic disorders. This is really just to name a few. And one of the things that humans can do to help these situations is to create these wildlife corridors.
I just want to say, this is a phenomenal video. I've learned more from this video than I have from anything that I've watched recently. This woman, Dami Lee, is amazing.
And honestly, I don't know if this was overlooked because the project is in a desert, but even within a desert, there's thousands of animals and plant species like lizards, snakes, turtles, sandcats, hares, like literally thousands. And I would assume, especially as you get closer to the water, you would have more animal species. So creating this massive 170-kilometer wall, it sounds really problematic. Also, this giant mirrored wall is going to reflect the light and it's going to create these two really hot heat zones, and it's gonna fry everything around it, not to mention birds flying into it. The second thing is,
I will say, I had this conversation recently, and, well, a similar conversation recently. When you're talking about, for example, them building the Line City, this is going to devastate the surrounding area. Well, animals can't cross through, inbreeding in the areas, animal species die off in the area. Yes. But I do think it's important to keep in mind the greater good for that area. So if this city houses 9 million people, that's 9 million people that are no longer living off electricity that's generated through any dirty means, like through fossil fuels. It means that's 9 million people that are no longer burning fuel in cars or using the electrical grid, even if it was clean energy, to charge their cars. Also, there's the part where there's no carbon. So, yes, this would be terrible for the surrounding wildlife, but I'm not entirely sure. It's just a conversation to have. I'm not saying that Dami Lee is wrong at all. I'm saying that the conversation to have is it, like, in the greater scheme of things, do those species dying off end up saving more through a lack of pollution, energy usage, etc.? That's the conversation to have. And I would be really interested if someone has done that calculation, has figured that out, whether or not it ends up making it worth it. That's interesting to me.
Transportation. How does this extremely long line cut?
A good example of that, right, is, or something you always hear is, there's no point getting an electric car because the power plants that generate the electricity are using fuel, so you may as well just keep a fuel car. This is a line that is fed to people and people don't look further into, because when you hear that, well, if your electricity is being generated by coal plants and other things and gas pipelines, what's the point in charging your car if the electricity you get is from a dirty source? And the answer is, well, yeah, the energy is from a dirty source, but you're not putting out all the fumes from a petrol car or a diesel car into the air anymore. And you're also feeding in to a a source of transportation for the future that is slowly but surely migrating to clean energy. It's kind of like, what would a good comparison for that be? I'm always told that I'm terrible at comparisons, but I love my comparisons. I think they're the best. I guess it would kind of be like, well, it's not exactly the same. To me, it would be like, what's the point in going to the gym if you're going to eat a Mars bar after it? And my answer is, well, I could eat a Mars bar and not go to the gym and net gain 400 calories. Or I could go to the gym, burn off 400 calories, and then eat a Mars bar, which means it evens itself out. You know what I mean? That's what it kind of see. That's not a good comparison, but that is how it feels to me. Anyway.
Transit time compared to a rectangle or a circle.
Imagine being the guy employed to tidy up all the dead birds that flew into the wall. Yeah, that will be a job.
Proposal relies on this super fast transit system that's going to take you from one end to the other in just 20 minutes. That would mean that the train runs at 525 kilometers per hour if you're not accounting for all the stops. The fastest train in the world.
Why would you need to travel from one end to the other? I can understand wanting to travel from anywhere in between to the end, to the water, but why would anyone want to go anywhere else?
World is the Shanghai Maglev, which runs at 460 kilometers per hour. There's also successful examples of how transit has been incorporated into the streetscape at the fraction of the cost of these bullet trains. I feel like this design and this concept of the line is creating unnecessary issues and trying to solve that issue with expensive technology. And I think design should provide the best organic solution, and we should use technology to improve on that.
I think they should build a circular city and give everyone electric scooters. I'm just saying, that's what I would do.
Also, organic cities, they grow. You know, how is this line gonna allow for growth? Do you just keep extending the line, like adding more modules? Or do you add perpendicularly, in which case it wouldn't be a line anymore? Also, if you look at studies on innovation throughout history, like Where Good Ideas Come From by Stephen Johnson, he says that innovation grew exactly when cities started to grow. And that's because there's a lot of cross-pollination and accidental meeting of ideas. He describes the different environmental examples that breed innovation, and every single instance, it's more of a maze than a straightforward line. So even if the city's been programmed so that you can access your grocery store or your local coffee shop within a 5-minute walking distance, if they're spending all of this money on it, I'm assuming that they're gonna want innovators and leaders to come live here. But a linear, rigid city just doesn't really seem like the right kind of environment for the breeding of ideas.
I guess that would depend. If you had an upgrade system and a forced exit system, meaning if your business, let's say you had a coffee shop, if your business wasn't making coffee good enough to bring in 1,000 customers a day, or let's say 100 customers a day, and you kept hitting 70, 80, 70, 90, 50, then your business would be shut down and a new business would be allowed to open in its place as long as it's situated, or as long as it's within the category of commercial and food. If you had a straight upgrade system like that didn't have the need for this deconstruction of buildings, that would be good. I could see that working. I mean, we do that already right now. It's just what capitalism is. It's your coffee shop doesn't make enough money, then you have to shut down. But it would be a governmental body that would step in, and you'd have to meet those numbers because each sector would need to be kept happy to a certain degree. And if you can't hit that level of happiness that everyone needs or wants, or you aren't selling enough, then you have to shut down. And another business can come in and take its place, rather than businesses going out of business, running out of money, shutting down, then what do you get? If you look at if you look at some of the high streets in the UK, I guess I was recently in Dundee, up in Scotland, and if you go down the main street, last time I was there, half the shops were shut down. There was either a board or a sign had been removed. There's a bunch of big retailers in the UK that have shut down recently. Like Next, no, not Next, Topshop, no, Topmen. They don't have physical stores anymore. They're gone. So what's in their place right now? In a lot of places, nothing. From what I've seen and heard. Rather than getting to that point, you could have a waiting list of businesses that want to open, and if one business isn't working here, then someone from the list gets to move in. Your business didn't work, so sorry, you either have to leave the wall or leave the line, or you can get another job within the line. That wouldn't be a terrible system, I don't think. It wouldn't be great, but it wouldn't be awful.
There's also the pure logistics of this as well. For example, let's say you're making some mac and cheese, but you realize you don't have any butter. And how can you make any mac and cheese without any butter? And so you decide to quickly go to the grocery store. And if you want to do it fast, you have to walk, which with this type of verticality, you have to take the stairs if you want to do it quick. But if you have mobility issues, you're forced to take the elevator, which we all know is a little bit slow. And as we've seen from the pandemic, it's the perfect breeding ground for disease. There's some talk.
Oh my God, that's an incredible point. The spread of sickness and disease there would be crazy.
Of, again, another high-tech vertical transportation system, which I'm sure will help revolutionize transportation in a lot of already dense cities. But putting these constraints at the outset of the design to serve this very rigid concept, I don't know how sensible that is. Also, do you think we're going to be able to cycle here? We all know cycling to your daily commute increases health, lowers stress and obesity, but you need roads of some size, which this design doesn't really seem to allow for. Yeah. So do you need to go to the basement floor to ride your bike? I don't know. I'm also not super sure how much daylight you're going to be able to get in there. This gray box is residential, but if you live all the way over here, that's a pretty unpleasant.
Yo, they had hidden that really well. I never saw that before. So you live in a column? And you can live all the way down here? Wait, how do you get any views of anything? Everyone can see into your room all the time?
Gray box is residential, but if you live all the way over here, that's a pretty unpleasant situation for you, and you're not going to be able to get a lot of daylight. So maybe the ones on the lower level are the servants and the workers, and up here, that's what I said earlier, millionaires live.
That's exactly what I said at the beginning. If this gets
built, I'm sure they're going to figure out a way to properly ventilate and structurally support this, but I think it's going to come at a serious cost. Every structural engineer is going to tell you that putting up a massive slab of wall is going to create some serious lateral stability issues. So that means all of this is going to need to have some beefy structure. This is the classic thermal convection diagram. The desert gets up to 55 degrees Celsius. That's 130 degrees Fahrenheit. So if the roof of this thing stays open, like...
By the way, she said that the desert gets up to 55 degrees. I like to keep my house at 21. That's more than double what I'm comfortable with. I would melt.
In the renderings, you're gonna need some serious cooling in there. Or maybe they're just counting on all of these areas being shaded most of the time. But then I'm kind of curious, how do you get all of this lush greenery, right?
Yeah.
These are only the handful of the many issues with this concept. I feel like a lot of unnecessary constraints have been created to serve this very simple concept. It reminds me of like an architecture student project that inevitably gets ripped apart during a crit. But let's say that they're able to resolve the issue of daylight, of walkability. They can make trees levitate and sunlight can bend.
Holy shit. They actually have levitating trees in this.
Trees levitate.
I completely looked past that. They're not attached to any. They're just
And
floating trees.
sunlight can bend geometry. But in the end, the question is still, who is going to live here? You know, what kind of communities are they going to have? This is a $1 trillion project, right? And they're estimating that it's going to cost even more because all of these technologies still have to be developed, and they're really trying to get the state of art for everything. The Saudi government is obviously not going to foot the bill for everything. You know, that's partially the whole point of this entire marketing campaign. It's to attract investors. In typical developments of this size, they're going to phase it so that the profits from the first phase can fund the second phase, and the second to the third, and so on and so forth. But
why not just cut it in half? Like, you're building enough for 9 million people. Why? Build enough for 5 million and then extend it later. No?
that would lead to old and new sections. And with typical master plans, these sections are designed very strategically so that the first phase, even if it's a standalone, can be a livable and pleasant community. But with just a couple of strips of the line, which is the old section and which is the new section, and can it even function as a strip on its own? The idea of a massive city is really cool, but who's going to want to move in there when it's just one little section? The Saudi government really wants to set up Neom as a free trade zone with its own tax system and legal systems that's separate from Saudi Arabia's super conservative legal system.
This seems so much like, what was that show that released on Netflix? There was season 1 and season 2. And season 1, they had one guy playing the main character. And season 2, they had the guy that's the current Captain America. I can't remember what it's called, but this so seems like something from that universe.
And they're really trying to create an environment for global investors. So maybe it'll be a trade area where people come and go, but maybe few people will actually live there. They're also proposing that AI is going to help us live more efficiently, reduce waste, and live more comfortably. But people are already skittish about giving up their data, even for the most utilitarian needs. And so to expect people to do that for a city that's built and funded by an authoritarian government is, I think, asking for a lot. I have no doubt that this project is going to push the boundaries of technology. They're already making some really, really interesting advancements in desalination technology, but building a city from scratch instead of solving the existing problems is, in my opinion, the antithesis of sustainability. Many parts of Saudi Arabia don't even have a proper sewer system. The country's already...
Wait. What? I have no words.
Full of failed or abandoned projects. And I think they need to be spending this money on improving the existing infrastructure and improving the lives of the people who already live there.
See, but improving the lives of people that are already there doesn't make money.
If sustainability and creating a better future really is their goal. What's also missing from their marketing campaigns is that there's thousands of people already living in this area. There's a tribal community that's been there for centuries. And Neom is displacing thousands of tribal members. And I think that brings us to the whole ethics behind all this.
Dude, this is... Well,
it is
unfriendly pause. I'll fix it. This is crazy to me. If I had to guess what the whole purpose of this actually is, it would be that they want to set themselves up to be the next America. That they want to have a New York, They've got Dubai, assuming I'm not mixing up my maps. They have Dubai. Yes, attracts people. But Dubai, as far as I've heard, has that area outside it that looks very run down and poor, and they can't just kill all the poor people because the world would go nuts. So they make a new city, another Dubai. This seems like what they're trying to do. And they hide behind the facade of, oh, check it out. We are making a cool city where you can come live. It's you know, and it's the future, and it's sustainability, and they don't really care.
It is true that Mohammed bin Salman is making a lot of social and cultural progress in Saudi Arabia, especially for women. Since 2018, women were allowed to drive. In 2019, they were allowed to apply for passports, meaning they could travel without a male guardian. And they're also requiring equal pay for women for equal work. And, you know, before that, women got about half of what men were getting paid for the same type of work. And all of these reforms are a huge step for women's rights. But the truth of the matter is nobody can criticize the prince or his policies. You guys might have heard of the murder of Jamal Khashoggi, who was a Saudi Arabian journalist who was critical of the prince and his policies. He was actually dismembered and murdered in Istanbul. And CIA reports found that Mohammed bin Salman, although he denies it, is the one who ordered the killing. He's also been responsible for some serious human rights violations, including the arrest of a massive number of political activists throughout the country. In this project as well, there's been zero consultation of people.
This got so dark so quickly. I didn't see this coming. I was not mentally prepared for it.
Who are going to live there or who live there already. And so, I don't know. Maybe the purpose of this whole project isn't to build a real city after all. Maybe the whole purpose of this project is to repair the reputation and promote this positive image for the prince and his kingdom. And they're saying to international investors, look, women can drive now. You can wear what you want. We're open for business. I don't want to get too bogged down into the politics here, but I think
the politics are pretty important, especially with everything that I'm hearing right now.
This is an interesting point to end the video. Architecture has been used throughout history to promote a political agenda, and the simpler the idea, the better. Especially today, with political messaging being delivered right to our fingertips as beautiful images and these grand utopian visions. It's really hard to distinguish what's what. It really makes me wonder, what is our role in this? I remember taking a course on ethics in architecture, and this architect, Carl Sapers, he outlined the ethical obligations of an architect. The architect has the obligation to, number one, make sufficient income to support the architect and his or her family. Number two, he has the responsibility to the sometimes conflicting requirements of serving the client. And number three, to the sometimes preceding and competing interest of serving the public. And number four, he has the responsibility to have devotion to the art of architecture. The second and third are actually outlined in.
I had no idea that architects were required to study so much. I thought it was you learn how to draw buildings and how to route the plumbing through them. I had no idea there was ethics, etc. involved. Hey Roy, how's it going, man? How are things?
And the AIA or AIBC Code of Ethics, and not all of these points are equal. If there's a conflict between any of these points, you have to put the client's interests over your own, and you have to put the public's interests over yours or the client's. What is the architect's responsibility when they're asked to come up with a concept like this? Anyways, I'll leave you guys with that. I'm really curious what you think, so let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you like this video, I think you'll also like the video where I talk about architectural concepts in sci-fi movies. I'll leave it right here. And with that, I'll see you guys in the next video.
Oh, I might watch that at some point. Dude, that was really interesting. At the beginning of the video, I said, I wonder if my opinion on this will change. And my opinion was pretty much, this seems like a terrible idea that's going to end up segregating people into little individual blocks. It doesn't seem like it's going to bring everyone together. The poor people are going to be on the bottom. The rich people are going to be on the top, literally. Everything that Daniel Lee's just talked about has just reinforced that. The line as a concept seems like a terrible idea, an awful idea, and it's worrying, dude. You know what the most worrying part of it is, though? That it seems like a good idea until you look into it. And it seems interesting and fun and something you want to see. I think that's the most worrying part to me. Makes me wonder about all the things I've ever heard pitched or seen that I've been like, whoa, that's really cool. You don't think about it. You don't look into the ethics of it. You don't realize you're being fooled into thinking it's good and great and great and good, you know? God, that's crazy. Yeah. Dammy Lee, go like and subscribe. I might check out that Future Concepts video at some point. But yeah, like and subscribe, dude.